The 13th century was a time of great change. From the steppes of Asia to the shores of Europe, the world was being reshaped. Empires rose and fell, new religions and cultures clashed. It was a century of war, conquest and upheaval. Few periods in history can match the 13th century for its sheer drama. The Mongol Empire, like a raging fire, consumed everything in its path. The Crusades, a clash of civilizations, raged on. New powers like the Mamluks in Egypt rose to challenge the old order. This was a century that redrew the map of the world. It was a time when the balance of power shifted dramatically. The 13th century left a lasting legacy on the world, shaping the course of history for centuries to come. From the heart of Asia, a new power exploded onto the world stage. The Mongols, a nomadic people, were united under the rule of Genghis Khan. A brilliant military strategist and ruthless leader, Genghis Khan forged his people into an unstoppable fighting force. The Mongol Empire expanded with breathtaking speed. They conquered China, Persia, and much of Central Asia. The Mongols were renowned for their equestrian skills and their mastery of the bow and arrow. They were also masters of logistics and psychological warfare. The Mongol conquests were often brutal. Cities were sacked, populations were massacred, but the Mongols also brought stability and prosperity to many of the lands they conquered. They opened up trade routes and encouraged cultural exchange. The 13th century saw the Crusades, a series of religious wars, continue to rage. European Christians fought to capture the Holy Land from Muslim control. The Crusades were motivated by a complex mix of religious zeal, political ambition, and economic greed. The Fourth Crusade, launched in 1202, ended in disaster. Instead of attacking Jerusalem, the Crusaders sacked Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire. This act of betrayal shocked the Christian world and weakened Byzantium, making it vulnerable to future attacks. Despite some early successes, the Crusades ultimately failed to achieve their main objective of conquering the Holy Land. They did, however, have a profound impact on both Europe and the Middle East. The Crusades led to increased trade and cultural exchange between East and West. In the Iberian Peninsula, a centuries-long struggle between Christian and Muslim rulers continued. This conflict, known as the Reconquista, was a series of battles and skirmishes that spanned over 700 years, shaping the cultural and political landscape of the region. The 13th century marked a turning point in this conflict. During this period, the Christian kingdoms began to gain significant ground, altering the balance of power that had long been in favor of the Muslim rulers. The Christian kingdoms of Castile, Leon, Aragon, and Portugal began to push back against the Almohad Caliphate, a powerful Muslim empire that ruled much of Iberia. These kingdoms, driven by a mix of religious fervor and political ambition, united their forces to reclaim their territories. The Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa in 1212 was a decisive victory for the Christian forces. This battle saw the combined armies of Castile, Aragon, and Navarre defeat the Almohad forces, breaking their military might and morale. It marked the beginning of the end for the Almohads in Iberia. The victory at Las Navas de Tolosa opened the door for further Christian advances, leading to the gradual decline of Muslim power in the region. Over the following decades, the Christian kingdoms gradually reconquered much of the land that had been lost to the Muslims centuries earlier. This period of reconquest saw the restoration of Christian rule over major cities and territories, reshaping the map of Iberia. The reconquest of Iberia had a profound impact on the region. It not only changed the political landscape, but also brought about significant cultural and religious transformations as Christian institutions and practices became dominant. It led to the spread of Christianity and the decline of Islam. Churches and cathedrals were built on the sites of former mosques, symbolizing the shift in religious power and the integration of Iberia into the broader Christian world. It also led to the emergence of new and powerful Christian kingdoms that would play a major role in European affairs for centuries to come. These kingdoms, strengthened by their victories and territorial gains, laid the foundations for the modern nations of Spain and Portugal, influencing the course of European history. Section 5. Constantinople's fall. The Byzantine Empire, once a mighty power, had been severely weakened by the Fourth Crusade. The Crusaders, originally intending to reclaim the Holy Land, instead sacked Constantinople in 1204, leaving the city in ruins and the empire fragmented. In 1261, the city of Constantinople, the jewel of the Byzantine Empire, fell to the forces of Michael VIII Palaiologos, the ruler of the Empire of Nicaea, a Byzantine successor state. This event marked a significant turning point as Michael VIII successfully recaptured the city and was crowned emperor, restoring the Byzantine Empire. The fall of Constantinople marked the end of the Latin Empire, which had been established after the Fourth Crusade. The Latin Empire, a Crusader state, had ruled over Constantinople for nearly 60 years, but its reign was fraught with instability and conflict. It also marked the restoration of the Byzantine Empire, although in a much weakened state. The empire, now under Michael VIII, faced numerous challenges, including internal strife, economic difficulties, and external threats from neighboring powers. The Byzantine Empire would never regain its former glory. The once mighty empire struggled to maintain its territories and influence, and its weakened state made it vulnerable to future invasions. The fall of Constantinople to the Ottomans in 1453 is often seen as a watershed moment in history. The Ottoman forces, led by Sultan Mehmed II, laid siege to the city for several weeks before finally breaching its walls and capturing it. It marked the end of the Byzantine Empire and the rise of the Ottoman Empire as a major power in the Eastern Mediterranean. The Ottomans transformed Constantinople into their new capital, renaming it Istanbul, and it became a center of Islamic culture and power. The fall of Constantinople also had a profound psychological impact on the Christian world. It signaled the end of an era and the beginning of a new one, reshaping the political and cultural landscape of Europe and the Near East for centuries to come. Section 6. The Mamluks ascend. In Egypt, a new power was emerging. The Mamluks were a warrior class composed of slave soldiers. They were typically of Turkic or Caucasian origin. The Mamluks were highly trained in warfare and were fiercely loyal to their masters. And in 1250, the Mamluks seized control of Egypt, establishing the Mamluk Sultanate. The Mamluks proved to be capable rulers. They defended Egypt from Mongol invasions and defeated the Crusaders at the Battle of Ain Jalut in 1260. The Mamluks also played an important role in the economic life of the Middle East. They controlled important trade routes and fostered commercial activity. The Mamluk Sultanate would remain a major power in the region for centuries to come. Section 7. The Mongol Empire fragments. The Mongol Empire, vast and powerful as it was not immune to internal divisions. Its sheer size and diversity made it difficult to govern as a single entity. After the death of Genghis Khan in 1227, his empire was divided among his sons and grandsons. This division was intended to maintain control over the vast territories, but it also sowed the seeds of fragmentation. This led to the emergence of several independent Mongol Khanates, each ruled by a different branch of Genghis Khan's descendants. These Khanates often had their own ambitions and rivalries. The Yuan dynasty in China, established by Kublai Khan, was one of the most powerful of these successor states. Kublai Khan's rule marked a significant era in Chinese history, blending Mongol and Chinese cultures. The Golden Horde ruled over Russia and parts of Eastern Europe. They influenced the region's development and left a lasting legacy on Russian history. The Ilkhanate controlled Persia and parts of the Middle East. This Khanate played a crucial role in the cultural and political landscape of the region. These Mongol Khanates were frequently at war with each other. Their conflicts were driven by power struggles, territorial disputes, and differing visions for the future of the empire. They also faced internal rebellions and external threats. The constant state of warfare weakened their ability to maintain control and stability. The fragmentation of the Mongol Empire had a profound impact on Eurasia. It disrupted trade routes, altered political alliances, and led to the rise of new powers. It led to the rise of new powers and the redrawing of political boundaries. The legacy of the Mongol Empire's fragmentation can still be seen in the modern political landscape of Eurasia. Section 8. New powers emerge. The 13th century saw the emergence of new states and empires across Eurasia. In West Africa, the Mali Empire was founded around 1230. It became a major center of trade and Islamic learning. In India, the Delhi Sultanate, established in 1206, marked the beginning of Muslim rule in northern India. The Delhi Sultanate would grow to become one of the largest and most powerful empires in Indian history. In Anatolia, the Ottoman Empire was beginning its rise to prominence. The Ottomans would go on to conquer Constantinople in 1453 and establish a vast empire that spanned 3 continents. Section 9. A legacy of change. The 13th century was a pivotal period in world history. It was a century of dramatic change and upheaval. The Mongol conquests, the Crusades, the rise of new powers like the Mamluks and the Ottomans, all contributed to a reshaping of global power dynamics. Old empires fell, new empires arose, trade routes shifted, cultures interacted and clashed. The world, by the end of the 13th century, was a very different place than it had been at the beginning. The 13th century left an indelible mark on human history. It was a time of both destruction and creation, a time of chaos and opportunity. Its legacy continues to shape the world we live in today.